And we're back. I am Sir Rhino here, bringing you the top 8 of today's last chance qualifier for Season 5. So, while normally a top 8 means we'd be playing several more rounds, finding our final winner, this is actually it. This is a win and in. We're just whittling it down to 4 last players to get those 4 last spots in the Season 5 Invitational, which will be going down next week, August 26th and 27th. So these 8 players just have one best of 5 standing in their way before they can get into the Eternal Tournament Series Invitational. So let's break down which 8 players made the top 8, and then we'll be breaking down the matchup that we're going to feature here. We've got Caldra, who went 6-0 with their take on Chalice, featuring a couple Skyward Seers and the flying package. Notably, Caldra made yesterday's top 8 as well, going 6-1 in that tournament as well. So no fluke here with Caldra. We also have Shadowblade that went 5-1 on Mono Fire Aggro. Missing Toes at 5-1 with Elysian midrange. Never Lukey 5-1 on a Fire Justice Shadow midrange list. Alabongi with we saw go to 5-1 with Praxis midrange. Jaffa, who we just saw lose last round, but expected to make it in on Breakers. Yep, at 4-2 with Mansu Ramp. Groovy at 4-2 on Chalice. And Balak at 4-2 on Argentport mid-range. So our feature match here will be Caldra on this Chalice take with Skyward Seer. You can see the deck list hopefully right in front of you. Skyward Seer being a 1-3 for 4, but when you spark it, you get to look through your deck and pick any flyer in it and put it in your hand. So things like there's one of Scorpion Wasp, Rhino Scale Draconis, Thunderstrike, Dragon, Westwind Herald all being featured in this deck as a kind of toolbox or just a value box that you can find. And Skyward Seer's body also can then be used by Crystal and Chalice to get buffed up, draw a card, etc. On the other end, we've got Balak, who we saw earlier, I believe, lose to Jaffa, but still making it in with this Argentport mid-range list. 4 Bartolos, 4 Moktos, 4 Umbran Reapers, 4 Falchions, 4 ofs as far as the eye can see, and a whole lot of removal to back up these nice, efficient threats. And a couple weapons to go on Bart and friends as well. So we're going to jump into the action right now. I'm not going to spend too much time breaking down this matchup. Instead, we just want to see the action unfold instead. But keep in mind, this is a best of 5. We will not be seeing sideboards until after Game 2. Going into Game 3 is when we sideboard. So while the Chalice deck may have some extra cards they want to bring in to deal with these evasive threats that Argentport midrange is bringing to the table, won't be able to until Game 3. Same goes for Argentport, though. Maybe some sabotages or protects that they may want to bring in. Won't have access to them until Game 3. But here we go. Mulligans are being resolved now. And, Caldra is looking at a hand that's got a Time and a Primal Sigil. No Justice sources, but, a Seat of Order off the top. Pretty nice here. Meanwhile, Balak's got Bartolo and 3 power and some other flyers as well. That looks to be the game plan. Annihilate, not exactly a super useful card in this matchup, but at least Caldra's got stuff like Thunderstrike Dragon that's a better target than usual that you'll see out of Chalice. So Caldra doesn't have double time here, can't cast this pair of Temple Scribes, but will at least be able to get the Desert Marshal and Wisdom of the Elders out of hand as Balak slams down Bart with his lovely little Aegis unblockable body. And Caldra pops the Aegis with Desert Marshal and gets to hold up both Wisdom of the Elders and Island's Choice here. Swings in with Desert Marshal, can't block the Bart anyways, and Balak's hoping to find some power to either put a weapon on Bart or just get closer to casting that Mokto in hand. So now Balak's got to decide, does he want to put a Falchion on a Bart that doesn't have an Aegis here? And this is the power of Island's Choice for something like Vanquish, right? It may cost 1 more, but it's also fast, and it allows Caldra to both hold up Wisdom of the Elders and Island's Choice here and make Balak have to make a difficult decision on their own. Balak looking to end the turn here and not even play another threat on this board? That would be a little surprising. I think you need to get a second unit down here. And yeah, Balak changes their mind, plays the Valkyrie Enforcer, gets a 3/3 flyer down, and puts 2 units that Kaldra has to deal with onto the board. Kaldra responds by drawing some cards, and crucially finds power that also is a time source. So now can start trotting out these Temple Scribes, but that would be at the cost of not holding up Island's Choice here, which would maybe give Balak the go-ahead to slam down this Lethrite Falchion unit. But Kaldra doesn't want to sit on these Temple Scribes forever and decides to play one down, and we'll just have to use Island's Choice at some other point in the future. Only gets an Amber Acolyte off of the Temple Scribe, so still hoping to find other power, not that. Meanwhile, Balak draws a Slay and just slams the Falchion down on Bart and gets in for a big chunk of damage, taking Kaldra down to 15. Kaldra finds more power, but again, it's depleted, so it's a little risky to play Temple Scribes here because you might not be able to hold up this Island's Choice. But if you don't do that, you're going to just be playing a Seat of Wisdom, holding up Island's Choice, and doing nothing else. Not exactly a great spot to be in either. So Kaldra could try and take a risk, play the Temple Scribe. If you whiff, you still get to play another Temple Scribe at least. And if you do hit a Sigil or undepleted power, hey, at least you still get to hold up Island's Choice. But instead, not going to take any risks here. Instead, just going to hold up the Island's Choice and bash in for 3. Again, Balak does have 4 protects, but they're all in the sideboard. That's not a card Kaldra needs to worry about in this situation, as Balak rips an Instigator off the top of the deck and jams in with the Bart and the Flyer. And as expected, Island's Choice answers Bartolo, and the Seducer goes into the void along with his weapon. Kaldra goes down to 12. Balak's still sitting pretty at 26 and deciding what other threat do I want to play down on this board. I think correct for Balak to try and keep 2 threats out at all times here. Balak finds another seat, 3 seats in a row. This Amber Acolyte will let it be undepleted, and then a Temple Scribe will come down to draw more cards. So lots of filler, but the killer will be coming soon from Kaldra as 2 Thunderstrike Dragons lurking in hand, but those are prime targets for the Slay and Annihilate that reside in Balak's grip. Balak thinking about using an Annihilate here, but opts against it and finds a Lethrite Falchion off the top and will jam in with these units, putting Kaldra under a lot of pressure here. Kaldra at least taking 7 in the air, can double block the Instigator to mitigate 1 damage from it. Again, they'll still get 2 triggers off the Instigator, but I think that's still what you want to do. Every point of life matters. But this Flyer will be threatening lethal next turn, and Balak has an Annihilate and Slay in hand, so Kaldra's going to need to find something good because this Thunderstrike Dragon's not going to cut it. And while the Western Herald does dodge removal, okay, there we go. Desert Marshal's more what we're looking for. That's a bit safer of a play. We'll see if Kaldra still goes with the Thunderstrike Dragon line. But something like Herald plus Desert Marshal is pretty safe here, or even Parliament plus Desert Marshal would give you a 4/4 flyer that trades with the 7/4 flyer. But yeah, it goes with the Westwind Herald instead and passes over to Balak. Balak finds a Vanquish as well that has no targets here. Annihilate and Slay certainly do. But Desert Marshal will take the 7/4 flyer out of the sky. And if Kaldra just double blocks with the 2/1 Marshals, while Balak has some fast removal, none of it hits Desert Marshal. So they'll be able to double block this 7/4, and there's nothing Balak can do to blow out that double block. And yeah, Desert Marshal flexing its muscles here. Balak drawing all this removal means not drawing power, and this Mokdo can't come down. Instead, his really only option here is to play a Valkyrie Enforcer and silence this flyer. This Valkyrie Enforcer not even threatening lethal on its own. Kaldra finds a Harsh Rule. Could think about using that here and then just using a Temple Scribe. The other option is to really just turn on Balak here, jam down something like the Acolyte, and then use Great Parliament to get 2 more flyers into play, and then just back those up with Thunderstrike Dragons moving forward. And it looks like that's what Kaldra's going to do here. Acolyte comes down, and Parliament for 2 owls. Yep. So Balak has a lot of 1-for-1 spot removal, but Parliament making 2 must-answer flyers already is a problem. So he can annihilate and vanquish, but instead is going to go with Impending Doom off the top, it looks like. And Caldra finds more power. Thinking about pulling the trigger on Harsh Rule here, the 5/5 flyer is a bit scary. But you can also just jam down, Temple Scribe, see what you find. Finds an Island's Choice. So we'll play a Thunderstrike Dragon here, though. Island's Choice not countering really any of the removal in Balak's hand. All it can do is answer threats. But yeah, Caldra will present the 5/6 Thunderstrike Dragon and pass the turn, which Balak will be able to answer that. Wow, just all vanquishes and annihilates, and then can swing with this 5/5 flyer and hopefully get a nice little block that sets up a good annihilate here. Caldra could triple block here to play around annihilate. We'll see if that happens. Instead, opts to just go with the double block, and Balak will be happy to see that. Annihilates one of the 4/4 flying owls, lets this 5/5 flying Impending Doom live, and that is still threatening lethal at Caldra. Caldra finds more power, and now it's to decide, do I want to jam another Thunderstrike Dragon, make them have the removal? It goes with that. Worst case scenario, you still have Island's Choice up, so I don't mind this too much from Balak. In fact, this will maybe even get a swing out of this 3/3 flyer, too. Actually, yeah, the Slay will just come down on the Westwind Herald here, I would think. You could swing first and then slay it afterwards, after you see the aftermath, but yeah, just going to slay the flyer now. Bastion with 8 flying. Island's Choice will hit the 1/5/5 flyer, but Caldra's still going to take 3 here and be forced to most likely Harsh Rule, depending on what comes out of the top of the deck. Yeah, it's just more powerful Caldra, so expect an A space, take Balak down to 26. Harsh Rule to get away that lethal 3/3 flyer, but Balak's got a castable Mokdo in hand. So pretty happy to see a Harsh Rule just hit a Valkyrie Enforcer. Vera's Favor, not lethal. Opponents add 2, but still sitting pretty with a Mokdo. And Caldra only finds an Amber Acolyte and has to scoop up game 1. So Balak gets the first game off a string of flying threats, eventually getting to use all of those vanquishes and annihilates. And we'll move to game 2. No sideboard here. This is a best of 5. So we'll let the players know we're ready for the next game as they ask, do we have to wait? Do we have to wait? They don't. They don't. We'll let them get back into the action as soon as possible. No sideboarding yet, as this is a best of 5 with Balak up over Caldra 1-0. So here we go. We're looking at their opening hands, players deciding if they want to redraw or keep, and waiting for us to give them the go-ahead. But let's take a look at these hands. I imagine Caldra's going to ship that one away. Just doesn't have the power or the fixing you want. As Balak has a couple of 2-drops backed up by a Slay, and if he finds the power, the Lethrai Falchions, while it doesn't have any great targets, it's a card. So on the draw, it's a reasonable keep. Lethrai Falchion's a little sketchy of a card to keep against like control decks, though. You really just want to have a high threat density instead of presenting 2-for-1s for your opponent. So I wouldn't be shocked if Balak ships this hand either. It's very, very borderline, where at least you have 2 3/3s you can play out. And a Slay to back them up. That's already pretty good. Even though the Lethrai Falchions aren't an ideal card in this matchup, your opener is already a pretty safe bet on the draw. So yeah, it looks like Balak plays it safe, keeps the double instigator hand, and Caldra mulled into a pretty nice hand. Double good fixing, double Desert Marshal, draws a Chalice off the top, and already had the Harsh Rule in hand. And yeah, Balak finds 2 more power off the top. It's going to curve out just fine here. Caldra finds an Island's Choice as well. So the top of Caldra's deck being very nice to them right now. Actually, they want to start seeing power soon, but certainly can't complain about the powerful utility they've found. Meanwhile, Balak finds another Lethrai Falchion, and that's maybe a nightmare draw here. It's not exactly a card you want to see 3 of it in the Chalice matchup. But in the meantime, Argenport Instigator is going to get some work in, hits his opponent down 22, and will maybe be joined by another Argenport Instigator. I would expect that here. And yep, double Instigator, double the fun. Kaldra will maybe get a Marshal out here to start silencing one. Doesn't know when they'll get access to another power for this harsh rule. So I think it's a reasonable thing to get one Marshal out now, and then next turn you can choose to either use Island's Choice or Desert Marshal. Leave one of those up. Or if you're feeling frisky, you could get down the Chalice here and just take your lumps. But I don't think Kaldra's interested in that. I think they'd rather just leave their options up with Choice and Marshal, and they won't deploy this Chalice until the coast is clear. Nope, never mind. I get faked out. Chalice comes down. Kaldra, already has the 5th power. Okay to see what extra threats, what extra hits that they'll end up taking here anyways. No reason to leave up Island's Choice in this situation because you're just going to bank on harsh ruling the next turn. Balak knows the coast is clear for a Falchion this turn, so can just jam one down. With 3 in hand, I think you just got to use it to get some extra hits in. And I think once we see that Chalice, once we see this Falchion, Kaldra will just chump block whichever one receives it, and then go into harsh rule mode. But we'll have to wait and see. Balak, going to pick one of his 3 Falchion, puts it on the Instigator, swings in, choosing the unsilenced Instigator so that every time a unit dies, he'll also gain a life. It's a nice thing to have. So A space in from Balak. Kaldra deciding, do they want to chump block here? Are they definitely going to harsh rule? If you are going to harsh rule next turn, you might as well not take this chunk of 7 damage from the Instigator, turn it into a chunk of 6 damage. But Kaldra's thinking there's a chance they just activate Chalice and use Island's Choice instead next turn. And that's really the decision process Kaldra's going through right now is, am I definitely harsh ruling next turn, or is there a chance I don't? And that would be the reason to not chump block here. And it looks like, all right, he's accepting there's a chance I'm not going to use harsh rule here. I might want to use Chalice. I might want to have this 2-1 in play and instead just hold up Island's Choice. So Kaldra draws another Chalice, not exactly what you're looking for in this scenario. Plays out the power, draws a card, finds a Wisdom of the Elders. All right, so Kaldra likely going to use Island's Choice here, and Balak off the top of the deck finds a Pending Dupe. So I think, Balak will just jam another Falchion, turn the other Instigator into a big hardy threat, and swing in with both, presenting lethal and making Kaldra have the Island's Choice here, which Kaldra does have. So expect Kaldra to use an Island's Choice to not die. Possibly using Desert Marshal instead to save the Island's Choice for later. Like, you can use Desert Marshal here as a chump block and not die. And then just use Harsh Rule to clean up, but then you'll lose a Chalice target by using Desert Marshal here. But you get to save an Island's Choice. So really, Kaldra's got to decide, is it better for me to save this Island's Choice or save this Desert Marshal? And opts to say, all right, I'll save this Desert Marshal and use Island's Choice to kill one of these units. And maybe not have to use Harsh Rule here, depending on what they find. Again, this 4-4 Desert Marshal line, or 4-3 Desert Marshal lines up against the 7-4 Argenport Instigator. So Kaldra now can just use this Argenport Instigator to go toe-to-toe, hopefully, or Desert Marshal go toe-to-toe with the Instigator. And if not, hopefully add some backup plans. Yeah, not going to greedily use Chalice here on this 2-1. Instead, if a removal spell for Desert Marshal comes down, which certainly could happen, his opponent's playing a bunch of Vanquishes and Slays, we'll have another backup Desert Marshal to maybe double block or just chump, depending on what Kaldra wants to do here. Some really tough decisions about how to use your removal, how to use your interaction here, while Balak is just presenting big bad threats deal with. So Slay comes down on the Desert Marshal, means Balak won't be presenting another threat this turn, but is taking out that trade. Balak could have jammed another left-right falchion and tried to force out something like a double block there, but I think this line of play also makes sense. And yeah, Kaldra brings down the Desert Marshal, double blocks, has a Wisdom of the Elders to refresh the hand and hopefully find some good Chalice targets and get some breathing room here. This Wisdom will find a Sigil and a Seat. So not exactly what you're looking for, but he'll deploy the other Chalice, has this Harsh Will in hand, and Balak has an Impending Doom. So that comes down, saves the Varus favor to maybe clear the way or pop an Aegis in some spot. And Kaldra finds another Wisdom. That'll come out. And considering this Impending Doom is presenting lethal, that'll force the Harsh Will out of hand. Crucially, not casting Seek Power there, then you wouldn't be able to cast Harsh Will. So Kaldra has dealt with Balak's threats, but Balak finds another threat off the top. Meanwhile, Kaldra is only sitting on power in hand, but Temple Scribe will get to do some digging. And oh man, it hits a Great Parliament right off the bat. That is an excellent hit for Kaldra here. Kaldra will use Chalice to dig a bit deeper, though, see if it finds any other goodies, and that does not appear to be the case. So Seek Power will come out, Seat will come down, and 2 4/4 flyers will come out for Kaldra here. So that's a pretty nice rip off the top for Kaldra. Chalice and doing what it does, which is drawing cards, finding the right answer. And we'll see if Balak has a good response to it. A Letharite Falchion means a double block at least takes out both flyers, but God, Balak drew all 4 Letharite Falchions this game. Not exactly ideal, but at least this Mokto will clear out the skies, gain Balak a ton of life, and, you can't hide from Mokto. Goes back into somewhere in the top 10 cards of Balak's deck. In the meantime, Kaldra's got 2 Chalices out. Got to be feeling good about that, but has nothing to hit with it just yet. We'll see what the top of Kaldra's deck brings as Balak uses a Varus favor here to thin out the deck, maybe get closer to that Mokto that's lurking. Kaldra, in the meantime, finds just more power, and it's just up to this little 3/3 for now to just get the beats on. And yeah, power on both sides off the top. So both players hoping to find some action, but if Kaldra finds a unit at any point, they're going to start drawing a lot of cards, and that's what we see here as Balak draws another Sigil off the top, and Kaldra draws power off the top too, but it's attached to a 2/1 body, which means they'll be able to start digging even deeper in the deck, and finding an Island's Choice is really nice gain there. So Kaldra holding on at 5 health and slowly whittling away Balak's life total here as it goes down to 39, but Balak rips an Umbran Reaper off the top. I believe Kaldra's already used 2, maybe 3 Desert Marshals this game. And Balak might actually slow roll this Umbran Reaper. The plan here being maybe to play it while you compare it with a removal spell and just kill your own Umbran Reaper, something like that. I'm not really sure, but there it is. There's the Vanquish, and he'll just vanquish his own Umbran Reaper, and there's nothing Kaldra can do about that. So there you have it. Yeah, didn't want to expose it just in case Kaldra had another Silence, another Desert Marshal, something like that, opting to play the odds and hope to find a removal spell instead of just presenting the 5/1 Umbran Reaper. And it pays off there. The gamble pays off, slow rolling the Umbran Reaper, finding the Vanquish immediately, killing the own Umbran Reaper, and doing those last 5 points of damage. So Balak goes up 2-0 in this best of 5, and now Kaldra's got to pull off a reverse sweep to make it to the Invitational. Remember, the winner of this best of 5 qualifies for the Invitational. Loser does not make it. So there's a lot riding here, and we'll see what the players do as we move to sideboard. While Balak did manage to win drawing all 4 Letharite Falchions, I still don't expect them to stay in here and probably get upgraded to... oh, no, this is a different sideboard. I take that back. I'm used to some of them having the Hammer of Mights in the side, but that's not the case here. So actually, there's a good chance the Letharite Falchions stay in post-board. I'm getting my Argenport sideboards mixed up, but some number of Sabotages and Protects are likely to come in. Not sure the exact numbers, but I expect those to come in. Meanwhile, on Kaldra's side, I see the Westwind Heralds coming out, the Thunderstrike Dragon staying in, but the Rhyme Scale Draconis looking to be on the cutting board as well. And we'll see what ends up coming in for that stuff. Probably more Scorpion Wasps. Maybe some Vanquishes or Permafrost in some combination. Just overload on removal, and then let the Chalices take you to a victory later on. So Caldra just going to bring in I expect almost every single removal spell you can find. It looks like Stand Together coming in as well. Against a deck rocking this many Vanquishes, Annihilates, and Slays, it makes sense to try and protect some of your units. Be a little odd to bring in Stand Together, though, if your plan is to also like have all your Harsh Rules still. And it's a bit of a conflict of interest, but at the same time, being able to protect your units when Island's Choice can't counter all of these removal spells is a reasonable take here. So that's what we're looking at here. The Vanquishes are in. Don't know if I've seen the Permafrost come in. It looks like they're thinking about taking out Island's Choice, maybe thinking Scorpion Wasp is better. Not sure if I quite agree with that, but Scorpion Wasp is at least functions pretty similarly. Does die to Annihilate, but also can be a Chalice target. And it's about making sure post-board in Chalice that you still have enough Chalice targets if you're keeping those in. And yeah, here comes the Permafrost. So basically, I would say the Island's Choices kind of get swapped into Scorpion Wasp. And then some of the other top end gets swapped in for cheaper removal. And it looks like, yeah, an extra Thunderstrike Dragon coming in. So maybe trying to finish off the opponent with Thunderstrike Dragons with Stand Together is the plan here. But again, Thunderstrike Dragons can be a little tough to stabilize the board with in the face of all of this efficient Argent Port removal. So while it does, become a 2-for-1, might not be the best choice for stabilizing. But yeah, wow, Temple Scribe's getting cut. You don't see that every day from a Chalice deck, but again, Caldra trying to figure out the right balance of Chaliceable targets, the right removal, and wants to bring in Backlash. Maybe that means the Stand Togethers will come out. But no, it looks like they want all the Backlashes and all the Stand Togethers for this matchup and try and resolve one of these big dragons or units that got Chaliced and protect them, if at all possible. Is that getting too cute? We'll find out as we go into the match here. The challenge is out. Balak trying to close this out. It's already up 2-0. So Balak just needs one more win to get into the Invitational, whereas Caldra needs to go 3-0 here and reverse this matchup. So here we are. Both players ship away their hands. They don't like what they see. And we'll see what the decks provide. Caldra needs some justice, that's for sure. Has some castable backlashes, but that doesn't matter if you have nothing to protect. Meanwhile, Balak's got 2 Umbran Reapers, which are a nice card in this matchup, but doesn't have anything to do before then, and this Annihilate certainly isn't going to be finding a target any soon either. Caldra finds some power, but not the power they're looking for, as it's just another primal source. But Amber Acolyte, crucially off the top of the deck here, will get Caldra at least their first source of justice. Meanwhile, Balak, hey, you finally found an Annihilate target. Do you want to kill it? No, opts to pass on that and finds a Bartolo off the top. So there we go. Hits the 3rd power, finds a 3-drop, gets that into play, and pair nicely with that Lethrite Falchion already lurking in. Caldra, in the meantime, gets a Scorpion Wasp off the top. Not going to do anything against this Bartolo, where notably something like Island's Choice could, if Bartolo also had its Aegis, but that's, of course, not the case here. So Bart into Lethrite Falchion. We've seen this before, and jams in, and Caldra finds the second source of justice for this harsh rule, but that's not going to kill this Bartolo, where maybe if this Scorpion Wasp had been an Island's Choice, you would have been able to, choice pop the Aegis, then harsh rule the next turn. That is not a line of play available to Caldra here, as Bart is showing off what he can do. Meanwhile, Balak will draw for the turn and jam in with Bartolo here into, Caldra doing nothing on 5 power. And then we'll see what kind of follow-up Balak has. Yep. So Bart comes in. If Caldra had Island's Choice plus, Desert Marshal, that would take out the Bart, but that's not the case here. Bart gets in for 6, and Balak will choose to jam the Steward instead of the Umbran Reaper, it looks like. Well, they're thinking about it, though. Yep, Steward comes down. No Desert Marshal here, though. And Caldra will just opt to not play a Wasp. Finds a Chalice off the top, but this Bart is a ticking clock, and they've got no answer to it right now. Marshall here does remove a Steward and pop the Aegis on Bartolo, but then you still have to find an answer to it. So instead, it looks like we're going to see a Chalice first. And, if Chalice draws the right card here, Vanquish plus power or Permafrost plus power could get the job done. But, oh, man, Balak finds a Protect off the top here. And that's going to really cut down on the number of outs that Caldra has here, if any at all, honestly. So Bart and Stewie jam in here. The 2-1 chump block Steward of the Past. Caldra goes down to 7. So this Bartolo's not threatening lethal next turn, at least. Caldra just finds more Amber Acolyte. So let's see here. Can't Acolyte and activate Chalice and get another unit down. So we might just see double Acolyte or Acolyte plus Wasp so the Wasp can kill the Steward of the Past. It's not exactly what you want to be wasping, but that seems to be the case. And actually, the Annihilate on the 2-1 makes Balak think, I might have a chance at lethal here. He's considering it, and yep, uses the Annihilate, tries to get lethal. Caldra, though, can backlash this, unless they want to hold up Scorpion Wasp. I like actually finding a use for backlash, but instead opting to try and guarantee that Scorpion Wasp kills a unit here. And so here comes the jam in from Balak. The A space is up, and away. Scorpion Wasp comes down. Caldra goes to 1. Balak doesn't have anything to finish him off just yet, but I expect Umbran Reaper to come down now that Balak has the power to hold up Protect, and that's what we see here. And that'll get the scoop out of Caldra. Balak gets the 3-0 sweep here. So Caldra, man, two tournaments in a row, getting to the top 8 and then losing in the first round. That's a bit rough. But still, good showing from Caldra. It's unfortunate couldn't make it to the Invitational, but hats off to Balak, who earns an invite to next week's tournament. That, believe it or not, even though it was a 3-0 sweep, those are some pretty long games, and it turns out there were 2 other 3-0 sweeps and a 3-1 match. So all of the top 8 is done. We have our 4 winners. Balak makes it into the Invitational with their Argenport deck. We also have aReNGee on Praxis midrange advancing over Never Luki. We have Missing Toes on Elysian midrange taking down Groovy to advance to the Invitational. And Jaffa 3 over Shadowblade. Jaffa being on Owl Ramp. 3 O's, the Mono Fire aggro from Shadowblade. So congrats to Balak, aReNGee, Missing Toes, and Jaffa for making it to the Eternal Tournament Series Season 5 Invitational. And and of course, congratulations to the other top 8 players. It's unfortunate that they couldn't all make it to the Invitational, but it's an Invitational. It's not open to everybody. You got to earn that spot, and only 4 players could today. Hats off to all of our players, though, for all the entertaining, interactive games that I know the viewers love. So with that, the Invitational is now set. We will be back with that next week, August 26th and 27th. It's the Season 5 Invitational. I won't be playing in it because I didn't play it all this month or this season, but there will be plenty of other amazing Eternal players in it, and we'll be bringing you all that coverage. But of course, before we end this show, we still got some other things to talk about, and of course, our lovely, amazing, fantastic tournament organizer, Rekenner, is in the booth with me. I'm finally not alone here. What's up, Rekenner?
Hey, Rhino. First, I really want to say thank you so much for hopping into the booth solo, especially given that you cast the entire event yesterday. It's been a long weekend, but it's been a weekend full of great Eternal. And I'd also like to thank Teehee, our producer. A special thanks for, again, hopping in and filling in yesterday and then producing today. It's been a long weekend, full of Great Eternal, but we're now here and we have our 32 invitationalists ready for the invitational next weekend. Sorry, folks. But yeah, I would like to once again congratulate Balak, Alabongi, Missing Toes, and Jaffa on making it through today. And over the next week, we will be putting out some more information as a primer on the Season 5 Invitational. Look forward to that on aReNGeeEternal.com, and we'll be linking it on the Eternal subreddit. And I would also like to thank some of our other behind-the-scenes folks, our graphics and code contributors who make our jobs much easier, specifically Mengar for our tiebreaker script and deck image creation tool, and Kirby for the weekly highlight reels, and actually now also taking care of putting the VODs up on Twitch highlights, taking some work off of the rest of us. Kirby's a great guy. It's unfortunate that he could not make it into the Season 5 Invitational today, but hopefully we'll see him next season doing well. I would also like to thank our Patreon backers. Without them, we could not be doing this. We wouldn't have our prize pools at events. A special shout out to our $20+ Patreon backers, Chuck Hurst, Easy, Chris Kearns, Andrea Pokai, and Seek Power Gaming. And you can find our Patreon at www.patreon.com/RNGEternal. And another thank you to all of our Twitch subs and people that cheer for us. You are also a very special contributor to us being able to put this show on, and hopefully we will be getting partner soon. That is in the works, once again. And I would once again like to thank Sir Rhino for casting today. Rhino, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, while I'm not being a crazy solo caster and casting 2 tournaments in a weekend, I also stream during the week. I stream every day from basically 1 Eastern to 7 Eastern, so that's how I can sit here and talk to myself for hours on end. It's a great skill to have. You should try developing it. But yeah, I stream. You can find me on Twitch, Sir_Rhino. I'm also occasionally tweeting out dumb things, making dumb deck lists, doing well in drafts despite getting pressured into picking bad cards by chat. So we do a lot of learning, a lot of losing, a lot of winning. That's what I like to do on stream and just have fun with the game. So if you enjoyed my crazy ranting today and you want to hear more of it, check out my stream. And yeah, of course, thank you to the aReNGee Eternal team for letting me be in the booth this season. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope to do it even more in the future.
Thank you, Rhino. And that's it for this week's show. We do this every week at noon Eastern, so click that follow button down below. And we stream every day except for Tuesday and Friday. We have Lights Out Ace. Sorry, we have Miller Tool on Monday, Lights Out Ace on Wednesday and Thursday, and the ETS usually only on Saturday with Lights Out Ace on Sunday. However, next weekend we will be having the Season 5 Invitational streamed both Saturday and Sunday starting at noon Eastern. Day 1 will be cutting our 32-player pool down to the top 8, and then Day 2 will be every single top 8 match, best of 5, until we have our one Season 5 Invitational winner. And so, I would like to thank everyone who came out to watch today. It's been a great day, and have a good night. Enjoy the music on the way out.